Ahead.
Okay, I guess I'm unmuted. So, welcome to Richardson Plano Networkers and our Friday Mastermind. And today we're going to be talking about our topic is Get Real, a positive solution to climate change. And we chatted a little bit before, and I'm really looking forward to this today. And our guest speaker today is David Munson Jr. Sorry. He's a founder, owner, financier, and inventor for FOI Group LLC. He helps provide a fresh approach to old problems and expert help with new ones. David has a rare combination of high-level educational and business experience, coupled with a lifetime of hands-on work. His inventions are novel yet practical real-world solutions to modern-day problems. He puts his money where his mouth is. Additionally, David serves as director of 4 private companies, a private foundation, and manages a diverse investment portfolio. He was born and raised here in Dallas, Texas, and currently lives here with his 4 children. Beyond serving as president of FOI Group LLC, he hosts Insights with David, a weekly TV show with different inspirational guests that talk about how their organizations are working to make the world a better place. He's also a minority holder of Local Yocal, a farm-to-table food operation in McKinney, Texas. Today, in addition to speaking with us about his experience, David will share with us his talk, again entitled Get Real, a Positive Solution to Climate Change. Please join me in welcoming today's speaker, David Munson.
Thank you so much. Well, I have had a very interesting life that gives me kind of a unique perspective on things. I spent over 35 years in agriculture, really more than that, going back to childhood, where my father wanted us to have practical experience with agriculture, starting with a chicken and egg operation in the backyard of our large estate and having a large garden with a retired farmer to work the property and train us boys in kind of how to grow things. So I know the importance of photosynthesis and learned a lot in my many years owning a large ranch and farm and trying all kinds of things in agriculture and learning of the importance of soil minerals and adding soil minerals to boost production. So many people in agriculture feel like it's kind of a finite game and are operating their soils in a very demineralized fashion. Most of the world's soils are badly demineralized, and farmers are on a tight budget and can't invest in adding minerals to their soil and oftentimes take the shortest, easiest route to grow a crop and try to survive on the land. And where many farmers are in a subsistence level due to economic forces and the fact that farmers are generally kind of exploited by societies to take food in. But anyway, I was motivated and very concerned about this push that's been made by people who promote climate change or rising carbon dioxide levels as an existential threat and offer no solution other than cutting emissions in America at an enormous cost while allowing emissions to rise in other countries that more than offset what America cuts back. So, whereas I think we need to increase carbon sequestration on the land and ocean to actually lower carbon dioxide levels while man still enjoys fossil fuels. So I started writing a book a couple of years ago, which came out in April, called Get Real, a Positive Solution to Climate Change, that you can buy at getrealalliance.org and read the positive solutions and good news that there is an answer that doesn't involve killing the modern way of life by trying to end fossil fuel use, which is so essential. So that's been some of my life path. I'm gifted or cursed with an incredible flow of ideas and words and thoughts and inventions. And so I'm trying to develop those things into solutions that are actually tangible and in the real world instead of just in my mind or on paper. But so that's kind of a little about me. And, basically adding minerals to the soil is something that everybody can kind of understand, that plants need nutrients. And if they're deficient in nutrients, they don't grow as well. And rainfall and soil erosion and crop removal take nutrients out of the soil. And man's agricultural practices poisoning much of soil life diminishes soil biology dramatically by adding chemicals and artificial fertilizers to the soil, which kill soil life. So healthy soil that's unaffected by man and is mineral rich has over 1 billion microorganisms in a handful of soil, where a soil that's been poisoned or is demineralized can have very few. And these soil organisms serve as the stomach for the plant, processing minerals and nutrients into forms the plants can take up. But our modern chemical farming mentality is that plants just take up ions and don't interact with soil life, because much soil research and crop research is done in sterilized soil that's been cooked to get rid of all the soil life or most of it. And so research is done on soils that aren't truly living. And plants are capable of living in a simplistic environment. Life is amazing how plants can survive in many environments, but the food isn't optimal. And in many cases, the plants are subject to insect attack because they're so imbalanced. And God, in his amazing system, has parasites and insects that attack sick organisms or weak organisms, keeping only the fittest in survival. So we see many parasites attacking modern agriculture, which is growing foods that are imbalanced, resulting in bad nutrition for people and this epidemic of degenerative diseases. But anyway, so that's what I'm working on, among a lot of other things. And I'm a real multitasker, so I'm thinking about a lot of different things. But I'm trying to focus a good bit on promoting my climate solution, because the proposals that are being promoted by the left will really destroy modern life as we know it, by ending reliable electricity and leading to power that is as intermittent as many third world countries, where they have lengthy brownouts and blackouts due to a lack of electricity.
David, can you share a little bit more about the book? Kind of get us a little bit of a overview of what the whole thing. I mean, obviously the title, but maybe you could share with us a little bit about the solution.
Well, the solution is to remineralize the land and ocean to enough extent to increase photosynthesis to where the carbon dioxide levels actually go down instead of up as man continues to use oil and gas and even coal. So the potential of the ocean is enormous, and the potential of the land to have sharply increased plant growth is enormous. One of the problems we have in the world today is many forested areas are actually not sequestering much carbon due to the trees being unhealthy or even dying due to lack of soil minerals. And as I said, parasitic insects and diseases attack the weak. And so when the soil is demineralized, the trees don't grow well or don't grow at all. There was a study done in Panama by adding rock dust, by adding basalt rock dust to seedlings. They saw a 300% greater plant tree growth compared to the control group, where some of the trees didn't even survive. So remineralization is a key element. Changing agricultural practices and practicing what's called holistic management, where people look at the environment as a whole instead of being very short-sighted and try to duplicate the way nature manages land, such as herd animals grazing grasses selectively for a brief period of time and then moving on and allowing the grass to regrow. So changing agricultural practices, keeping living things growing on the soil all the time, instead of the current practice of leaving the soil bare except when you're growing one single crop. We really need to think boldly about new ways of doing things that are sustainable and not depleting. Currently, much of America is growing food using geologic groundwater that's being depleted at a rapid pace. The Central Valley of California is a major food producer, and the water level has been dropped enormously by draining the groundwater from being just 10 or 15 feet below the surface to now 150 feet below the surface. And we're just being very short-sighted, thinking we can continue to grow food long term when the water source is going to be gone. And so I talk about that in the book. And as an inventor, I think of solutions. We really need to get out of the cheap food habit, growing food in an unsustainable way, and say we need to pay more for food. We need to reward the growers more for growing the food so that they can take better care of the land. And so I talk about that in the book. I talk about converting some of the American Midwest back to native prairie grass polyculture, and talk about an invention that I have to harvest native prairie grass in a new way to feed animals in a way to increase productivity and produce quality grass-fed beef instead of corn-fed beef. So I promote major changes in the way we produce food. And so I've currently got a website talking about my prairie grass inventions, prairiegrasssystems.com, and I talk about it in the book. So getting online and seeing that in the book is a way. I also have a website for my invention company, fullofideas.com, which has some videos on it and information about some of my inventions, and a fundraising video called Renewable Energy Inventions to Save the World, which is kind of a bold title, but I think current ways of doing renewable energy are not sustainable and don't really provide reliable power. So in that video, which is available on fullofideas.com, I talk about better solutions that I've come up with. So I'm a bold inventor, prophetic voice saying that we need to change our ways to be sustainable and to have a future. So that's a little more about me, Randy.
I was a bit younger, and I, had my own backyard garden and stuff. I used to subscribe to a magazine called Organic Gardening, and it gave me some tips and things to help make my garden more productive and things like that. Is or quote organic gardening A still around, and B really a thing that makes sense, and does it play into what you've been talking about here today?
Well, one of my problems with the organic gardening movement is that it doesn't really focus on making the soil mineral rich. In many cases, people just kind of recycle nutrients with compost and other things. But if the soil is deficient to start out with, the plants are going to be deficient in nutrients and what you mulch and compost. So much organic produce is not mineral rich. It is good that they've improved soil life and in some cases improved soil life, and things like fungi can extract nutrients from deep in the soil and make them available to plants. So I like holistic or regenerative or organic farming. Personally, with my ranch, due to a large seed bank of weed seeds and the fact that the the natural cycle for my property was probably to go to back to wetland trees. It was a river bottom place that had very fertile soil, but we had to use herbicides to control weeds to some extent. So I never went full organic, but I was regenerative and practiced holistic rotational grazing
Okay.
and limited my use of chemical fertilizers to some extent.
hmm So as individuals, the seven of us here in the room, what can you tell us that we can do to help support some of the things that you're doing, and as individuals?
Well, the most important thing that I need as much as anything is more followers and members. So sharing the website with other people, joining us on social media, sharing the social media pages. We're on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. Um, we need more followers. We need more members.
What's the website?
GetRealAlliance.org.
Get Real?
Yeah, I
Get,
posted it into the chat,
Oh,
Randy.
thank you, David.
So
I wasn't.
you can click on that link,
Great.
and anybody right now that's here can click on that link and just bring up the browser, and then you can go back to it. But the getrealliance.org.
Any YouTube videos?
I have videos on GetRealAlliance.org, yes. And there is a YouTube channel, I believe, as well. I'm kind of an idea guy and have a prophetic ministry and not real good with details. I have a website social media manager who's doing a lot of good stuff, but I don't know all the details and don't keep up with all the different sites that he's working on. But
Who is he?
Brian De Silva is his name, but he's a young website and social media guy who's helping me with GetRealAlliance.org. And but yeah, just sharing the news, sharing the website, joining our newsletter. That's all actions that can be taken. Donations are extremely valued because currently I'm funding things out of my own resources. And frankly, I only have the ability to do about 1% of what I feel is needed to have a major impact. So I spend a good bit of time reaching out to people, trying to get financial support. I'm trying to get support from the oil and gas industry because I have kind of a unique climate solution that doesn't involve putting them out of business, like all the current mainstream climate agenda where everybody talks about being net zero in 30 years by
Okay.
ending most emissions, whereas I think with increased photosynthesis, we can continue to use
Right.
oil and gas.
Okay. Michael Dressel, you have your hand raised. What would you like to
Yeah,
ask
actually,
or
I can, because of what I do with medical insurance, I hear of all these kind of things. And I definitely had a friend of mine that she lived in the Plano area. And what she ended up doing was moving out further north and getting her house with some acreage. And she was constantly sick, even though she was a nurse when she was in Plano, and constantly dealing with allergic situations, illness situations. This were pre-COVID. And then she moved her family out there and built her own farm out there to grow her own fruits and vegetables. And now it's a 180. So, I mean, everything David is talking about is true. I support what you're trying to do. I think, like you were just kind of alluding to, cheap and short-sightedness is easy. And it's hard to get anybody to kind of look at the planet in a long-term solvent situation. So I applaud what you're doing, and I just wanted to offer that.
Well, thank you for that input. That's great. And yeah, our food supply is very demineralized. An apple of 1965, you have to eat 5 apples today to get the same nutrition. I mean, it's shocking how degraded our food supply has been and how the mineral and protein content of things have gone down dramatically. And, we're just very unhealthy. I mean, degenerative disease is just so common, and Americans are so unhealthy because of their poor diet and mineral deficient food. So restoring the earth to health is very important.
Mako, I'm adding, I spotlighted you. Mako joined us. Why don't you introduce yourself and then share any thoughts or reactions? Mako's a very, he's very connected, very learning oriented, very focused member of our community. And I always like and respect his thoughts. So Mako, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Mr. Munson. I apologize for being tardy joining the meeting and everything, but for what I heard starting in, all the stuff you say about, the shape the earth's in, our plant life, et cetera, all hits home, especially with me. And it seems to be, from listening to you, it's almost like you're sitting on an island by yourself, because it's hard to get this word out to everybody and to get everybody on board. And I don't know about you guys. I've seen some programs on Netflix about the shape of our oceans and the deluge of plastics that's floating in the ocean, and everything else on that's happening with our forestry, especially down the Amazon. And it's disheartening. And for me, it seems like, man, it's going to take somebody from celebrity status or something to jump on board with you, Mr. Munson, to really get the your message out to the forefront, to really to get a following and get some momentum going to make the kind of changes that you want to do. But I applaud your efforts and everything. It's just, man, it's just a tough road ahead, I think, for you.
Well, I would agree with you. And like I said, I think before you maybe got on, I'm financially pretty comfortable and have the resources to pursue things that maybe don't have an immediate impact or are kind of a long shot. But I feel like the money that I do have and can put into it is only maybe about 1% of the effort that's needed to make GetReliance.org into a major organization and boost book sales through a big marketing campaign to sell major numbers of books and have a real impact. So, but I'm fortunate that a lot of people have come into my life through very unlikely ways, and that I'm making connections that can be really significant. Last week, I went out to Midland and met with a number of people in the oil and gas industry and gave out a lot of books. And if it's meant to be, I just believe God has a plan for my life, and I can make a strong case that people come into it in just the right time and just the right way to make things possible. I think, Dave Roberts coming back into my life after a long separation of time. I don't even remember how long ago it was that I was on this networking channel talking about early childhood education and charitable giving. But we reconnected, and now, he's been a big help with his podcast that we did yesterday and bringing me to this group. So if it's God's will, things are going to happen, and we just need to be bold. And a friend of mine said this wonderful prayer: Lord, if it's your will, bless me. If it's not, block me. So if it's not God's plan for my life, then I'll be a successful prophetic voice for change on many things, including the way we treat the earth. Then I won't succeed, and my book will be a trivial sales and not resonate with people. If it is his will, I believe the right people are going to come in and make a big difference, and give me lots of resources to really spread the word. And, like for instance, out in Midland, we talked to one man, or we talked to his company and left a bunch of books with him that my partner in this effort knows. And, this man has 1,900 employees and has absolutely massive income. So if he's motivated by our cause and his CFO likes our mission and whatnot, they could do all the funding we need to do a major TV campaign and really get the word out in a big way.
Mike,
David,
did you have a comment or a question?
I did have a question. Do you think that the oil and gas is the low-hanging fruit because they're going to get what you're kind of talking about? Is that a good connection for you to move your? I know you said it's a daunting task, and I agree with Mako and everybody that said it. So do you think that's the low-hanging fruit that gets you more traction than just talking to the generalized population?
I'm doing both, but I feel like because the oil and gas industry is being threatened with extinction, that they may be more receptive to funding the marketing and efforts and research that need to prove the cause out. I'm the primary funder of a wonderful little charity called Remineralize the Earth, remineralize.org. And it's been going for nearly 40 years promoting remineralization. But the lady that runs it is living in a small town in Massachusetts and hadn't had success raising major money, but has done a ton of work with volunteers and whatnot. So I'm trying to get her funding to take that organization to the next level. So in reaching out to the oil and gas industry, I'm going to encourage them to give substantially to that charity and less to my advocacy group, the Together Alliance, to fund actual work on remineralization. And but I am biased because I get most of my income from oil and gas. I'm blessed to be from a family that had some significant resources. and my father was very successful in some things. God led him to great things. And so I'm benefiting from some fantastic things that happened back in the early 70s that my father passed down to his kids. So that gives me the resources. I appreciate oil and gas, and I don't want to see natural gas put out of business, as many in the climate activism group are trying to quit the use of natural gas for home heating and cooking. And there are movements in some parts of the country to ban natural gas use in new homes. So I campaign against that. In the book, I talk a lot about how natural gas is kind of the ideal fossil fuel and needs to be a bigger part of our energy mix, to phase out coal, and talk about how coal has so many negative side effects, including toxic ash and mercury and so many other things. So that's some of what I'm pushing on. I have to go with the low hanging fruit. I am hoping to reach out to some people who are concerned about climate. God has brought an amazing woman into my life who has an incredible ability to connect with people and has led me to have some new relationships and potential relationships, including that. Yeah, go ahead, Rick.
Ricky, you're on.
Unmute, Rick.
I have a question. Have you done any research at all, or do you not have an opinion? I don't know about hydroponic garden tower systems, which doesn't use soil at all.
I like hydroponic gardening and aquaponics, which involves the use of fish to produce the plant nutrients without using chemicals. And I talk about that in the book some, and I have an idea to use that as part of the prairie grass system, because ideally we need to move away from growing vegetables with soil as kind of our exclusive program, because the soil is depleted. And like I said, the groundwater in California is getting depleted. So California is not going to be a major source of vegetables going forward. As you know, the Colorado River is being depleted, and we have a real problem with unsustainability. And I've done some study on aquaponics and hydroponics, and I like that technology.
Well, I don't see where I can get your book. I'm looking through the chat. Is it up there?
GetRealAlliance.org has a book sale
Okay.
link.
Can you put that in the chat, or
It's in the chat, Randy.
Is it the book?
It's yeah. Well, his website, which is, you can find if you go to.
Oh, okay.
click
So
on-
is it, if you get on the website, will I be able to get the book?
Yeah.
And it's easy to find, Ricky. It's on the website about, drop down, and there's a book icon.
Okay.
There. You just click on that.
Got it. Thank you. So let me just, while I got my mic open, let me ask David another question. Could you give us a couple of things, 1, 2, 3 things that we could physically do, other than send you a check? And I'm not being sarcastic, but obviously that could help. But what could we do as citizens, as individuals, to help stop the depletion of the minerals and all the rest of that, and move the planet in the right direction?
Well, frankly, money is one of the best things people can do. And with freemineralize.org, desperately needing more donors and funders and newsletter subscribers, and Get Real Alliance needs more newsletter signups and needs to be shared. So, if my effort is going to succeed, it needs to go viral. In terms of somebody that I reach out to needs to share it with their list and spread the word, because without that, the cost of trying to do Google search ads and whatnot is very expensive. So, but it may seem trivial, but even a $20 donation to GetRealAlliance.org or a $20 a month donation can pay for 20 people's searches that actually come to our website. So it's like you sharing the website with 20 people a month. So small donations do count. They'll help us in our fundraising to say, look, we have this support. We're getting broad-based support. So that's, and I know without reading the book and without getting more excited about it, it's kind of premature to talk to people about making donations. But I hope this talk has kind of inspired people to realize that we really do need to intervene in a big way. Now, there are rock dust resources available on the remineralize.org website. There's a wonderful small rock dust sales organization called rockdustlocal.com that you could buy some rock dust to put in your yard, or he sells it by UPS as well as truckload quantities. But so we can all do something, but I think spreading the word is probably the best thing this group can do for me.
Don Huff, I'm going to ask you to, if you usually have a different view of the beach ball, so I'm curious as to any questions you might have.
Well, I was just thinking about promotions, and one of the newsletters I get, I put the link in the chat. It's called Reasons to Be Cheerful. And in these days of difficult news, I've really enjoyed getting it, and they have comes out every week. They have a website with lots of stories. It's a news page, and it just focuses on redistributing news and writing news stories on the good things that are happening in the world. And so I was thinking you might take a look at that website and see if they would be interested in doing an interview on yours. It's an international website, and it's hosted by one of my favorite singer-songwriters, David Byrne of the Talking Heads. And it's a good place to have stories. It has stories about, thermal systems, heating entire towns in Iceland and things like that, good things happening to the environment, good things happening in society. There's just been a lot of too much overwhelming amounts of negative news. So it's a wonderful, positive news source that I enjoy getting things from. And I would love to see our food get healthier and nature return to its balance. Thank you for sharing your ideas. It's a little hard for me to understand the specifics of what you're talking about, because you've got kind of a bigger picture idea, but, I'd be happy to help you with some communication efforts if you'd like. Getting your I haven't seen your book yet, but
yeah, David, one of the things that let me connect the dots here for you a little bit, which is my superpower. So one of the reasons why I wanted Don to get on the stage, so to speak, is to say he's a fascinating resource to communicate visually. And as you know, in our world, we're all about memes, and we're all about branding, and we're all about these kinds of things today. And that's one of the areas. I don't know who you've engaged to do your quote social media, but just saying I got somebody I'm paying to do my social media doesn't mean that you've got necessarily your branding down and the messaging down. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm just saying that communicating it visually and creatively. And Don has you can go to donhuff.com, and he has quite a resume of illustrations, as well as, how, just not just pictures, not just graphic art type of stuff, but how to organize thought, organize. One of the things you're dealing with, in my opinion, and again, you're wrestling with this. This is your passion. It's a beautiful thing. Is getting. Randy asked the question. It's been asked a couple of times. Is we're all trying to get our brain around this, and as Randy said, to me, I need a picture. To me, I need to look at it and say, okay, here's where it goes. Here's where this focus is. Here's where that, and something that kind of puts it all together so that I can get a picture of it in my brain. And I think that's, in my humble opinion, or not so humble, maybe, Don Huff has, he's pretty brilliant at doing that. So in terms of the stuff I've seen him do, if you've been to Plano, in downtown with the, what's that museum downtown, Plano?
The Interurban Railway Museum.
Interurban Railway Museum, a lot of the graphics, the presentation, you walk through that. Don did that. Don, you can put one of those little stickers on there and say, I did this. Don did this. So it's just something to consider, because as I was looking at some of your stuff, and I'm all about getting it viral, getting the message, but really, Ricky asked the question, it's been asked here, and this is a mastermind. So you're leading the mastermind, you're giving us a focus, and that's brilliant. But I think you've got, hundreds of years of experience from different angles, even in the 8 people that are on this Zoom right now. And I would just say that, you may not have the audience of a PowerPoint or a long form interview like my podcast yesterday, or even a longer form discussion like this mastermind. And so we've got to get it down. I'm all about it. Everything you're saying, the reason why you're here, David, is because I really believe that we need creativity. We need, people to really get outside the box and look back in. We've got too many people looking for soundbite answers on either. I don't care what the side is. I don't give a rip about that. I want my grandkids and their grandkids and generations into the future to have better lives than what I have right now. And we're not on that path necessarily. And
well,
I don't
think we're on the opposite path.
Right. And that's why I'm saying,
with the rise of TikTok, shortening people's attention spans, to where when my son went to see Top Gun, the movie, so many people were on TikTok that it distracted him from the movie, because people had their sound on their phones watching TikTok's videos instead of watching the movie, because the movie is a slow attention span thing that you have to stay engaged with it for hours, whereas TikTok is 30 seconds.
Well, and here's the deal. And I know you're not, but I'm just saying, we can complain about that, and we can say that's a bad trend, that's a bad idea. Millennials and Gen Zs and whatever else we want to call them, they have short attention spans. That's true. The question is, to me, is how do we reach that audience with messaging that's short enough that they can at least get the gist of it. And that's why I wanted Don to kind of step up and say, not only, let's get it to a picture. Let's get it to, a 1-minute video. Those TikTok videos do make a difference. They do have an influence with the generation that's in school, right? That's in the K through 12. So we can either lament it and say that's going to be our destruction, which I don't think you're saying, but I think it's
Oh, I
not
am
real-
concerned about it.
well, the only way to make it better is to get what we're not going to, silence that media or that source of information. And we're not going to, I mean, they're getting information through that channel, whether it's good or not is another thing, right? So I think that we can all do some things to educate ourselves, which is your book and other on this topic and others. I think it is a mastermind. I think we need to challenge ourselves to not only educate ourselves, but we can't change going viral is an easy, not easy, but it's a mountain to say, yeah, I got to climb that mountain, and you can we can sit there forever and say, okay, it's just a mountain too big. But the only way, that's why we do networking, because we change the world one connection at a time. And you've got 7 or 8 more people here that at least have some perspective on your view, and we can educate ourselves. We don't have to just accept the meme. We don't have to accept anything. We can actually do something that we're inspired to do, not motivated, inspired to do. Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, I was in the world that you were just talking about, David. I think the quick thing is to do, I know this is a daunting topic, and to try to get it down to a TikTok video or something like that sounds like it's mind-blowing. But I think what I just had a good thought on it was maybe whiteboard animation makes things a lot easier for people to grasp and things like that with Rick Rawson. I've seen him do some amazing things with that. So it's just about trying to get that generation to understand the problem. And if the big thing about them is, I know they have short attention spans, but if you can capture them, if you can get their attention, then you can actually take their passion and move it forward in a way that probably other generations don't. Because once they get passionate about something, they stick with it.
And just while you were talking, Michael, I went and put in the search bar, get real, a positive solution to climate change, and it doesn't come up. But a whole bunch of other people's topics, all related to the same thing. So, David, I'm not being critical here, but I know you gave us the publisher, but if people don't know it and they've heard about you, how do they find information on the book if it's not subject to a general web search?
Yeah, I'm concerned about it. And, I don't know that, I was led to hire this guy to do website and social media work. And, I don't know if he's the ultimate guy or if I was kind of led astray, but like I say, I just kind of feel like God brings people into my life, and, maybe Don is going to turn out to be
Right.
a big help. I don't know how things work, the serendipity of Dave bringing me into this group and networking with other people,
Is there a synopsis? Again, we've been listening and interacting with you for half an hour or so, and I think I don't think there's anybody in this room that is going to argue with you that our planet is in dire straits, all right, and that something needs to be done, and it's a tough problem, and politics are working against it, all the rest of that crap. But back to the question that I asked, other than sending you money, what can we do as concerned citizens to help move this problem in a new direction? Come up with solutions. What can we do?
Well, everybody can make a difference. I don't know.
That's not an answer. I'm not being critical, but that's not an answer, David.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep it, I'm trying to ask a simple question, and I'm doing this for a reason. I mean, if I was advising you, you got to have a different, in addition to what you're doing, you got to have a different way to approach this so that the average layperson, the concerned average layperson, okay, can help. And just saying send money, in my opinion, it's necessary but not sufficient. Don, can you help me out here, Don? Or have I dug myself too deep?
Actually, Mako, open your mic. Mako,
okay,
go ahead.
Mako. Go ahead, buddy.
Well, I'm getting off on a different tangent as we were talking about TikTok and other ways to get the word out on your efforts and stuff. Something that popped up to me was have you ever thought about putting together a TED Talk? I'm a big fan of the TED Talk channel, and they have I don't know what it costs or how you get involved with that, but I know they have a certain formula where it takes around 17, 18 minutes to put together their TED Talks. But I think that'd be another great venue for you to investigate as a way to get word out on your efforts and the things that are going on with our planet and things from your perspective.
And to Mako's point, TED Talk is a very widely known and respected media. And so I think you've hit on something really good, Mako. I mean, I think people, if you get on TED, you get a TED Talk about the movement and what you're trying to do and how do we save our planet, I think you're going to get a lot of play. Mako, that's a great idea, buddy.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And we've actually had masterminds. If you go back to our YouTube channel or to the Be Connected channel, either one, you can find some discussion. And one of our speakers has had 6 TED Talks, and he actually helps people, and there's other people that have. It's not an easy stage to get on, but let's think about this, guys. It's ideas worth sharing.
Right.
I mean, I realize that, you can, and you have to find the right stage, but getting into that discussion and honestly, it may be a counterpoint to some of the, carbon neutral and some of the other stuff that really is only part of the equation that's going on right now, but it's a positive message. It's a thing that we can do that can energize us to really, because I think everybody here, I know everybody here cares about the fact that the planet's going to be here as good or better than it is now for our kids, right?
Right.
And so and our
grandchildren
and our great grandkids. I mean, I'm getting old enough now that I even think about that. So
well, TED Talk, when you throw that out, some people might say, what in the heck is that? But that actually stands for technology, entertainment, and design. So it's not just a person, TED.
Right.
It's actually deals with technology and design. And sometimes I think people just hear TED Talk and they just they blow that off, because who's TED,
Yeah. Well, in today's world, it can be a little more. But David, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, this is a mastermind. We care about each other. We care about getting the message out. We care about the planet. We want to do things. This isn't necessarily a group that writes big checks. However, this will live out on our YouTube channel, and we can share this discussion. I think there's been some reasonably good suggestions here around crystallizing, clarifying, getting what you've got in your head and the research you've done into whether it's a explainer video, splainer video, as Ricky would say, as a splainer video or a TED Talk or just as Randy said, and maybe what came into my mind is I used to do large multi-billion-dollar engagements, and we always had to we could describe everything we were going to do, and it'd be a 2,800 page proposal. But we always had an executive summary, right? We always had, and that's what Randy's talking about in my simple mind. So all of those things, the book is great, and I'm all for that. And I really appreciate you and other folks who've taken the time and made the investment of their most valuable asset, which isn't the money that you have, but it's the time and your intellectual property. But any thoughts around that, or any because I think you've got you're out engaging some of these groups. I know we're teeing you up to talk to other groups, but I think I think this is just a microcosm of people they're going to want the same thing we're talking about here. We want some place to point them, because the attention span, you already expressed the concern. The attention span of the generations that's following us is very small, and they've got to get it in a 1 minute or 5 minute. And I realized, like, even on the podcast, you said yesterday, well, read my book because you're not going to get this in this discussion, right? And I get that, but I need to get enough of it to make me want to write a check, get some money, energize my community to do the things that you're suggesting, which could be changing, right? So life-changing. So anyway, that's my
Yeah.
two on it. I'm connecting those dots.
Well, I think the short videos is something that my social media guys talked about, how YouTube loves less than a minute videos. They're kind of promoting them, and they discourage long content. And I saw that with my TV show, which was a 30-minute show, and YouTube just really kind of slighted me. If I watched a video, they wouldn't even count my view as increasing the view count. And, I had 50 subscribers, and in many weeks, I'd only have 1 or 2 supposed views. So that led me to discontinue my TV show eventually, kind of with the advice of my website social media guy, saying that the videos are too long to fit the YouTube model. They want this short content. They want the 1 or 2 minute hard hitting, kind of my elevator pitch, which I use at conventions, which is, we have a way to make the world carbon negative while we still use oil and gas, by restoring the earth to health by adding minerals to the soil and changing agricultural practices. And just saying something real short.
Mhm.
When I went to the Rotary International Convention, I gave that spiel to over 1,000 people and gave out 800 pieces of literature. Most people said, hey, wow, I want to know more about that. So that's been my experience marketing the ideas to groups of people. But there again, the crowd at the Rotary International Convention was much older, but we had success at EarthX and reaching younger people. And I've just brought the program up to people. Even like when I was in Midland, I talked to the cashier at the coffee place, who was a young girl in her 20s. And I told her about my program, and she was real interested in it. I ended up giving her a book, and who knows what she'll do with the information and how she'll share it. But
yeah. So David, did you have I think it really is important. And the thing is, again, all the points that we've heard here, executive summary, a picture to explain, or a diagram to explain the components, some visually creative ways to express it, a TED Talk. All this stuff is saying, if this is if you really truly want this to be viral, you've got to be out of the equation. The message has to get out there, and that's part of your book. I get that. But David, did you have a question? I saw you raised your hand.
No, it was more of a comment than anything.
Okay, go ahead.
As I was listening to you, And I'm thinking from a branding perspective, there's multiple avenues that you can use. And it's just a suggestion. I'm not trying to sell anything. But one of the some of the younger people, if they're technically inclined, maybe provide us a USB drive with your logo on there. And then with a USB drive, what happens with that is that you can put snippet information and keep it short, and then and they can take it with them, and it's something that you can leave behind. That's just a thought there.
Well, it's a good thought, David, and I'm going to connect that dot in a second, but Michael had his hand up. So Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, and you said your 30-second pitch, to be honest with you, Dave, and that even went over my head. And I'm not a millennial or anybody under that age. So I would say keep it more simple. Like, do you want to save the planet? Do you want to eat healthier? Stuff like that, that'll catch them quick and gain their interest of trying to you are basically, feeding into let's beat the man kind of a mentality with a short little snippet that'll get them passionate. And that's where I would go. Like I said, that 30-second commercial had a lot more detail than I would have provided. Just the simple snippets of let me get on board with this and be passionate about this subject, and let me be join with you in a movement kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, and thanks, Michael, because in just connecting again, this is a movement. We need people, and whether it's one at a time, it's seeing a video, in order to make real change, we need that movement. There's movements created around things that you've already described that may be oversimplistic. They may not solve the problem. They may have unintended consequences that we haven't thought through, but you've thought through in your book. But the thing is, maybe it's a bump. I say it, a little bit, bumper sticker or t-shirt, or in David's thing, I want to, let me get on this movement of remineralizing the planet, saving our oceans, saving our soils, saving our there's a whole lot of causes that are bundled up in this relative. I realize you use the term holistic, but it's more comprehensive. You're looking at the picture in total and saying, hey, as a farmer, as somebody who's done this all my life from your youth, right? From your ute, is you've been, or as Randy would say, you've been focused on how to make the soil more productive, the oceans more productive, the ways that we got it. It doesn't have to be, let's destroy everything we have and save the planet. Let's build on what we have. Let's be smarter about what we do. Let's quit repaving, or paving our forests. Let's quit, consuming our water resources and polluting things, and let's figure out how to support nature or God's natural processes and quit trying to take a shortcut, right?
And it can't be, sorry, in my opinion, it cannot be save the planet. That's too trite, too overused. And people go, yeah, okay, I saved the planet. How much do you want? $20 here, here's $20. It's got to be more cause-based and more solution-oriented, I think David was saying. I think this, requires a good brainstorming session and really, and like Don Huff, and how do you put this into graphics, and how do we convey what is really the message? I think, the message is remineralization of the soil. Okay. Now that's the message. If I went into the Kroger supermarket and I put a poster up and I said, help remineralize the soil, people would just walk away and think I'm crazy. So we have to figure out, I know what that means because, you know, I'm an educated person, but the regular, ordinary people need to, this has got to be put in layman's terms in a way that they can feel like they can contribute. And I know I'm just preaching, but I don't have easy solutions.
David Gurno, did you have a question or a comment?
Another comment, and you mentioned about you needing money. Okay. One way to market yourself potentially is, you know, and thank you, David, for bringing this to my attention. There was a client that basically bought some T-shirts. Now you keep, you know, you can do one line, and then therefore you buy the T-shirts, you look and you put a brand on or whatever you want, whatever saying you want on there, but keep it short and keep it simple, but also, you know, but basically when you go to, you know, like an event, say, hey, I've got these T-shirts for sale, and that could be a potential way for you to raise, you know, some additional funds for your costs.
But you got to have a clear message before you even think about a T-shirt.
I'll agree with that statement. I'm just saying that's another avenue,
Right.
Or another potential avenue for you to raise
Yeah, I think
funds.
there's lots of ways that he can deliver it, but I think he's got to have a message that people can somehow understand, relate to, and get on board with, both personally and financially.
Well, is he because with it, sometimes you have to go with the emotions, and you have to
No, I
attract them.
understand. I understand.
You know, attract
part
them
of it.
emotionally.
That's definitely part of it, David.
David Munson, what do you think? What are your thoughts, or are you still
Oh,
processing? Or
I get kind of overwhelmed thinking about, you know, what is God calling me to do and how's it going to work? And, you know, I think getting the word out in a big way, and it may be getting the word out to the millennials is kind of hard, unless we move them in a way. I mean, if people are getting their information on their phone in 30-second bites, we're seeing our website get viewed 93% on phone, which means, you know, my long climate program doesn't get read. Maybe somebody looks at one video. We've got short videos that are pretty good, but you know, maybe I need to generate more video content that's less than a minute, short videos to put on YouTube and promote. I haven't done a video in a month or two.
well, we have resources, David, in this group. There's 1,800 people plus in this group, and we do have people that are actually regular members of this group that themselves and or have resources to create the shorter videos, to make it to testify. You know, I have a pretty content rich YouTube channel now with you know, these masterminds, the live version or replay version of the Warrior versus Zombie podcast, those kinds of things, and creating just some short clips from those videos and sharing them on some of the social media platforms has been huge. Also, there's some people in the group that can actually take the high points of the thing. And like I said before, and I don't want to lose this one, is coming up with a picture. I'm a visual, you know, in my brain, I see a picture. I see something that looks like this, and I see us doing this, but getting it out of my brain onto, I'm not an artist, but creating that picture, once I see it, I know it. And having people like Don, other people that might be able to distill it down, because it is overwhelming. You've got it. I have the same problem. I have things in my brain that it's overwhelming for me to try and explain it to somebody in a simple way. I can see it. And I think you're challenged with the same thing. And I think everybody here is saying, saving the planet, saving our oceans, becoming carbon negative. In other words, that not being an issue, and, you know, preserving our way of life. Those are all messages that I think resonate with anybody that has a brain. So it really is one of those things, is how, you know, getting those messages out, and then getting people to carry the flag that they feel the most able to explain. And if you have to explain it, it ain't going viral. It's only going to go viral if they can explain. And even if they explain it as a bumper sticker or a t-shirt, you know, that's actually getting the ball moving. It's a journey every day, right? Any other thoughts? I'm not intending to do it, but anybody else want to? David, we really, that's the focus of this group, is we really want to see, you know, you've invested, you've shared, you know, twice in 2 days to my various audiences, and I really want to, you know, kind of return the favor, do what we can, you know.
Well, I appreciate you giving me these platforms and getting me a chance to reach out to people, and hopefully people are going to be drawn to go to getrowalliance.org and study the program and share it. And if they're inspired about it, and maybe we'll sell a few books out of the transaction. You know, I didn't write the book to have it be a huge money loss. I've got a lucrative publishing arrangement. If the book sells well, it could produce some good revenue, but currently it's not going anywhere. We're giving away books or selling a few books. And so I'm a long way from saying that it's a profitable thing I've engaged in. I didn't start this effort just to lose a lot of money. I started it to try to help save the world and create a better world for me and my kids, and for other people's kids and grandkids. So I appreciate the comments and the thoughts, and the connections. And
well, you're very aligned with this group, David. I mean, the reality of it is, I think everybody that shows up, everybody that's on this mastermind, everybody in the group that will ultimately see the replay of this discussion, comes to the party with a servant leadership mindset. They're all trying to figure out how to serve our community. And as a byproduct of that, we may get business, we may monetize some things. As I often say, this network is not for profit, but it's not for loss. So I hear that in some of the things you said. So again, we want to make a difference for those causes, those things that can impact our community. And I think what you've heard here is a desire. And frankly, if you go talk to a bunch of, one of the people I want to introduce you to, if you're interested, is one of my clients who has a 27-year B2B marketing company and does predominantly marketing for manufacturing and oil and gas industry, and mostly a lot in the midstream and E&P areas. But those people are a willing audience, but again, they need a positive message to deliver to their industry and to the people at large that really is true. You know, I think we're all in a search for truth in our world today, and that's why I don't like the term social media, because nobody trusts media right now. I think what we're doing here is what I call social business, which means our business is holistic as well. We're entrepreneurs, we're small business owners. We are looking to improve the lives not only of our clients and our partners, but also our families and our future. And so we're not at odds, and we're not even we are very much, this group is a very much focused on impacting our communities. So let's give David a hand. I appreciate, David, I appreciate your willingness to share. I appreciate your passion. I pray, and again, I happen to be a Christian, so that's what you get when you get me. Prayer is something that I believe works, and we're going to do that. And I think I would encourage everybody to, get access to David's information. David, I'm going to encourage you to circle back with, any of the people in this group. I'll put David's information in. I see, David, I think at one point in here, yes, you posted your cell phone number so people can reach out to you if they want to help you figure out how to get your message out, whether it's Don and the visual presentation, or David and logo wear, or we've got other people that aren't here that specialize in SEO, specialize in getting noticed. I did share a link to the Be Connected community. David, you definitely need to click on that link and get registered on that. It's free. Get registered on that platform, because it is an alternative platform, and it's social business, as opposed to, it's more like business to business type of stuff. And I think that's an audience, because those businesses have audiences, right? And so we want to make a difference. We want to help you, maybe in ways that you haven't really wanted necessarily to ask us for, but we're willing to do that.
Well, I appreciate it, and it's been great, and I hope that everybody's gotten a lot out of it, and a hopeful message that there is a solution to the world's problems if we treat the earth with respect and remineralize and revitalize it.
Amen. All right. So any other announcements? We have our regular Wednesday and Friday mastermind next week. And we'll be talking about some exciting things. You can go look at the calendar, RSVP, if you've been on this Zoom. Tomorrow's Men's Breakfast Network, I strongly encourage. We had 30 guys. And I don't see any women that I'm going to offend here, so unless they're watching it in a replay. But it's about men supporting men. But again, we need to provide leadership, and we all care about the future. So that's at the Pancake House in person predominantly. If you want to join Zoom, you text me and make sure. But again, we had 30 people in the room last month. This month and next month, it'll be on the second Saturday as opposed to the first Saturday, because of holidays and my travel schedule next month. So any other announcements anybody has? If you do, just open your mic and I'll open it up. Otherwise, it is 2 minutes till, and I would encourage you to download the chat, Dave, and actually the live links on there. If you make the point to click on those, then the web browser will be there. You don't have to cut and paste, because once you're saving the chat, you're just saving a text file. So the links are hot right now if they're properly put in the chat. So you can click on those and go back to them, order David's book, whatever it may be. Anyway, any other parting comments? Again, thank you, David. I sure appreciate your passion, your focus.
Well, thank you so much for all you've done, and giving me this forum to get some good insight from people, and hopefully progress is going to be made.
Dave, if you're giving out free books anyway, send a cover letter and the cliff notes of your book to Oprah Winfrey. You might get on her show. And also send one to Kim Kardashian. She's gotten people off of death row and all kinds of stuff because of her influence. But that's kind of tongue in cheek, but you never know.
No, that's actually really, Mako. That's one of the reasons why I encouraged him to get on the Be Connected platform, because really the people that are on that platform are predominantly influencers. They're people who used to speak or still do speak from the stage, have their own audiences, and this is the kind of thing that creating some awareness with people who already have 2 million followers on a cause that's worthwhile. Macaulay is that's a brilliant point. I appreciate you putting it out there, is that looking at some of these influencers, that's really what Be Connected is doing right now, is they're targeting even other influencers that aren't already on the platform that have millions of followers to explode that platform. So it's a very similar challenge, just a different message, different focus.
Sounds good.
All right, brother. Well, I haven't published the